The fork in the road in this world is in December 636 in the fields of Qadisiyah, where a 40,000-strong Persian army clashed with an Arab army of 30,000 warriors. Despite the Persians' superiority in strength and vast combat experience, they lost the battle, after which Persia lost its independence for many centuries, and with it its faith, becoming Islamic. Let's assume that everything happened more logically. The Persians stopped the Arab fire by defeating them. However, the Persians did not stop there. Having waited until the Arabs captured Syria, Palestine, and Egypt from the Byzantine Empire, in 646 they fell upon these lands. It should be noted that these territories, in addition to the horrors of war, were also subjected to a deadly plague epidemic, and there was basically no one to resist the Persians. As a result, the Persians, after many centuries, returned to Egypt and the Middle East. Byzantium's attempt to recapture its lands from the Persians led to nothing, since the Romans were also greatly weakened by the plague. In 680, Byzantium was attacked by another attack, not from the east, where the empire was forced to keep its main troops, but from the northwest, where a new attack appeared, the Bulgarians led by Khan Asparuk. The Bulgarians, united with the Slavs, captured the entire Balkans like a fire in the steppe, while Emperor Constantine IV was transferring troops from Asia Minor to the capital. As a result, already under the walls of Constantinople, the Byzantines gave, as they say, the last and decisive battle to the invaders. The battle did not reveal a clear winner. Its outcome can be considered a draw. However, due to heavy losses, they were forced to retreat behind the city walls, and the Bulgarians laid siege to Constantinople. As for the Persians, they decided to take advantage of the problems of their main enemy, and in 681 they invaded the virtually unprotected Asia Minor. Thoroughly, without haste, by 682 the Persians had captured all of Anatolia and reached the Bosphorus. Meanwhile, the siege of Constantinople by the Bulgarians continued the steppe. Nomads did not know how to take such fortified fortresses, and after the fourth assault was repelled, they retreated. Thus, after 682, only Constantinople with adjacent territories, the Black Sea colonies, the islands in the Aegean Sea, possessions in Tunisia, Sicily, Sardinia, and Corsica remained under the rule of Byzantium. What happened next? And then in Europe, their own processes began. In Pannonia, the Moravians, taking advantage of the weakening of the Avar Khaganate, inflicted a crushing defeat on them and pushed the remnants of the Avar tribes to the east to the region of modern Moldova. The Avar Khaganate, having lost its former power, became only a shadow of its former self, gradually dissolving among the surrounding Slavic and Turkic tribes. The Hungarians, unable to find a place for themselves in the Urals and sensing the weakness of the Khazars, changed the direction of their migration and moved westward to the Black Sea steppes. There, taking advantage of the decline of Byzantium, they quickly captured all the Byzantine colonies in the northern Black Sea region, establishing their own state and gradually spreading their influence to the surrounding lands. The African Exarchate, seeing that Constantinople was unable to protect and provide for them, withdrew from the subordination of the central government and formed its own state, the Carthaginian Empire. It included the territories of modern Tunisia, as well as the islands of Sicily, Sardinia, and Corsica, which ensured control over the western Mediterranean. Carthaginian Empire became an important trade center and a strong maritime power. In weakened Francia, the Merovingian dynasty, seemingly forever removed from power, managed to return to governing the state. Moreover, they, taking advantage of internal strife and the weakening of their neighbors, managed to significantly expand their empire. Yes, they did not reach the scale of Charlemagne's empire, but they reached the Elbe, subjugating the Saxon tribes and significantly strengthening their influence in the region. At the turn of the millennium, the Frankish Empire, which had grown to enormous proportions, was divided between two Merovingian kings into two parts, the West Frankish and the East Frankish kingdoms. This political fragmentation led to the weakening of the Franks and created conditions for the strengthening of their neighbors. Immediately beyond the Elbe, in the lands where in our world no major Slavic state had ever formed, the powerful Vendia was formed. Having united the Palabian Slavs under its rule, it was able to successfully resist the onslaught of the Franks and Germanic tribes, becoming an important player in the politics of Eastern Europe. The kingdom of the Lombards, based in Italy, was never conquered by anyone. The Lombards were not particularly aggressive and did not seek conquests outside Italy, focusing on strengthening their power in Lombardy. As a result, Lombardy never became part of the Frankish Empire, preserving its dynasty and unique culture. Britain was subjected to devastating raids by the Vikings, but they were unable to conquer the entire island. In the southern part of Britain, the Anglo-Saxon Kingdom of England remained, stubbornly resisting the invaders. East Anglia and a significant part of Northumbria came under the rule of the Vikings, who created their settlements there and established their own laws. The Visigothic kingdom, which was never invaded by the Arabs, remained on the Iberian Peninsula. The Franks, busy with their internal problems and wars with their neighbors, were unable to conquer the Visigothic kingdom. As a result, the Visigoths preserved their culture and statehood, and the Basques, taking advantage of the unstable situation, were able to form their own independent state in the mountains, Euskara, which became a stronghold of resistance against all conquerors. In conclusion, a few words about the fate of our motherland. Rurik, despite all the changes around as in the Russian Empire, became a prince in Rus and founded his dynasty. All attempts by the Hungarians to impose tribute on it were repulsed. Well, by the end of the 10th century, the Hungarians had largely settled on their lands and stopped their campaigns. Moreover, mutual marriages began between Russian princes and Hungarian khans. At the same time, Hungary became a reliable buffer between Russia and the steppe, and in general, our country won. As for religion, despite the weakness of Byzantium, Rus, Hungary, Avaria, and even Bulgaria became Orthodox. At the same time, the Patriarch of Constantinople became something like the Pope of Rome, and Constantinople itself became something like the Vatican.